Nilfgaard is very strict with its magic users. They are forced to work for the Empire and to do the Emperor's bidding. They are used as mindless magic-using tools, yet there are some that in secrecy dare to stand against the Empire. Assire was one of the mages that lived in Nilfgaard, for she came from Vattier de Rideaux. Her blood, however, was part Nordling. She was known as a talented sorceress, not a beautiful one, for in Nilfgaard it was frowned upon for mages to enhance their looks, as it was seen as a sign of a weak mind. Assire looked like a typical witch, even going as far as living with a black cat she named Merlin. Assire was forced into working for the Empire. It was her choice. Either that, or she would be executed. She wasn't active near Emir, or the courts of Nilfgaard. Instead, she seemed to spend most of her time at the academy, researching. She, however, was among the mages that were tasked by Emir to find Ciri during the First Northern War, to track her down. They all failed in this task. No one could find her, for the distance from Nilfgaard, where they were located, to the northern kingdoms was too far for the mages to find someone there. Assire eventually received an invite from Philippa Eilhart for a secret meeting. This intrigued Assire. She was curious, but knew that this could end very badly for her if anyone else would learn about it. Assire accepted the invite, however, and joined in on the first meeting of the lodge. Some members, like Sabrina, did not take kindly to the Nilfgaardian sorceress being there, as she believed she was spying for Emir. Assire did not have to explain too much, as it didn't take much for the other members to realize and understand the risks she was taking by participating in the lodge. At the end of the meeting, Assire was asked by Philippa to find another sorceress from Nilfgaard that was capable enough to join them as well. And with that, she went looking for a suitable candidate in Nilfgaard. Shortly after this, Assire was contacted by Kalach ab Grufid, a seneschal working at the court of Emir, and the father of Cahir mal Divgin ab Kalach. He wanted Assire's help, to help him save his son, for he was ordered to be captured, tortured and killed by the Emperor. If you wonder why he came to Assire, well, she is a distant relative of Cahir. I'll put a simplified family tree on screen right now so you can see the connection. Assire, even though she most likely would have wanted to help, could not do anything, for her involvement in the lodge made it too risky. As Assire kept looking for a candidate, she eventually found one for the lodge, someone who was considered unruly and rebellious. Fringilla Vigo. She had requested Fringilla to do a few things for her, mainly having to do with gathering information. Fringilla went to meet with Assire. She, however, was surprised by her, for Assire had started to look more like a decent mage. She had done her hair, nails, and used a few simple spells to improve her looks, stating to Fringilla that it was time for superstition, that the desire to look good was a sign of a weak mind, to go away. The information Assire had requested of Fringilla confirmed that the Ciri that was in Nilfgaard was not the same girl that Emir was looking for, and therefore was not the real Ciri. Assire var Anahid stood up, walked over to the window and stared at the spires and pinnacles of Nilfgaard, the capital of the Empire, called the City of the Golden Towers, shimmering in the setting sun. "You once told me, and I remember it," she said without turning around, "that no borders should ever divide magic. That magic should have the highest values, be above all divisions. That what was needed was some kind of secret organization. Something like a covenant or a lodge." "I am ready," said Fringilla Vigo, Nilfgaardian sorceress, breaking the short silence. "My mind is made up and I am ready. Thank you for your trust and a distinction. Where and when will his lordship meet my mysterious and enigmatic friend? Assire var Anahid, Nilfgaardian sorceress, turned away, the hint of a smile on her lips. Soon, she said. I'll explain everything to you soon. But first, before I forget, give me the address of your milliner, Fringilla. And so they soon after went to the first meeting of the lords in Monte Calvo. Assire and Fringilla were both nervous, for they didn't know what to expect from the northern sorceresses, as they had only heard tales about how scandalous they were supposed to be. Assire was, however, soon more at ease, as Sheila de Tancarville and her, almost immediately, found common topics since they were both researchers. During the meeting, Assire still seemed a bit insecure about her appearance, even though now she looked more fashionable than before. Assire wasn't familiar with the stories of the Elder Blood, and had to be informed of what it was all about, and what the deal with it was. Assire listened with great attention to the information, as this topic seemed to fascinate her. As the talks moved to the whereabouts of Ciri, Assire confirmed that Ciri is not in the hands of Emir. Philippa already knew this, but was glad to have it confirmed, stating that the lodge was already operational. As suddenly Yennefer disappeared, Assire knew that Fringilla had something to do with it, and asked her if she knew where Yennefer had gone, something Fringilla did not know. Over time, Assire started to do more and more things that could get her in trouble. Most notably, she had Carthia van Canten spy on Vattier de Rideaux, head of the Nilfgaardian intelligence, by having her act as his lover. She would get information from her, which she would then pass along to the lords without mentioning Carthia. Instead, she would pretend that it was some other sources, most likely to protect Carthia.
You ran into her. Her real name is Carthia van Canten, Assira's former collaborator. She's very talented.
As time went on, Assire started to become more comfortable with her appearance, and even aroused admiration with her elegance. She also started to wear a golden chain with an emerald in it.
Assire var Anahid's necklace. Wonder if it's the real thing.
This all symbolized how she had become less and less Nilfgaardian, and had gained more freedom. During the attack on Rise Run, Assire was watching with a close eye, slightly frustrated once it all turned out to be not the right place. Once they learned that it was Stega Castle, Assire could confirm it, that it was indeed the case, as her informant, whom she pretended to the lords was a common soldier, but really was Carthia, had told her about a castle in Ebbing on the shores of a mountain lake. Assire was an important part of the lodge, and one of the few that didn't get scared once Sheila started scolding Ciri for her behavior. In the end, when the vote came to let Ciri and Geralt meet, Assire refused to let her go, for she was concerned with the safety of Ciri. On the roads, out in the open, anything could happen. The lodge kept operating for some time, and Assire kept active. She was asked at some point to come out to the north by Sillard Fitz Oesterlen. He presented her with a figurine of Triss and asked her to decompress her. Assire did as asked and decompressed Triss. Right after she was done, she was grabbed by Ronald Aup Madsen and stabbed by Sillard Fitz Oesterlen, her lifeless body thrown off the edge.
Mehin eveneens ep turin. Me pöft en alverdeg.
Assire was killed by Sillard for her involvement in the lodge, something Assire had always known would cost her life if Nilfgaard learned of it. Due to the circumstances of her death never being explained in Nilfgaard, it led to propaganda and political conflicts for some time within the empire. In the 14th century, Assire was made a saint and honored for her work in the lodge. She also became one of the inspirations for Nimue to become a sorceress. Yet every depiction of her at some point was destroyed, because around the 14th century, end of the 13th century, all the images of the mages from Nilfgaard were at some point wiped away. That was it for Assire. Till next video. Bye.